In this video, we'll be looking at access words that start with the letter F. And our first word is field. A field is a category of information found in columns in table datasheet view. And if we go up to our employees table, you can see our field names across the top. And appropriately, our next word is field properties. Field properties determine how that field's data is displayed and stored. And if we open this back up in design view, we'll see our field properties down here. So we've already selected this as the auto number data type. And in our properties, we have some things that it's showing. It's showing our field size, which is a long integer. Our new values with our auto number are incremental. And we have this field indexed. So yes, it is indexed, and it's not creating any duplicates or allowing any duplicates. We can look at the phone number, which has some field properties attached to it. We've assigned a field size of 15 characters to it. We've added an input mask so that when you're entering a phone number into this field, it will create brackets around it and a space and a dash between the digits so it looks more appealing and easier to read as a phone number. And then a final example is our date of birth. So the format on this is short date. So it will show up looking like a date with the slashes between the day, month, and year. We have a validation rule that requires them to enter a date before today's date so that when people are inputting the birth date, they don't accidentally enter today's date. And if they do on accident, then it will give them a validation text, basically an error message that says, please enter a date before today's date. And then finally on this one, we have a date picker, which allows a little calendar to pop up so you can easily just select the date from that calendar. Okay, so those are some examples of field properties that determine how our field's data is displayed and stored. We'll go ahead and close out of that one. And our next one is the foreign key. A foreign key is a field or a collection of fields in one table that uniquely identifies a field in another table. The foreign key will be found in a second table, but it refers back to the primary key in the first table. And one additional point to note, the field names of foreign keys and primary keys are usually the same to clearly communicate their connection. They should also be the same data type. So to demonstrate this, let's go to Database Tools and look at our relationships. Okay, we have both of the tables in our database. We have our employees table and our offices table. And both of them have a primary key. This one is the employee ID primary key. This one is the office ID primary key. And you can see that this primary key in our offices table is linked to the office ID field in our employees table. So this is the primary key for this table, and in this table it is a foreign key. And this one is listed as an auto number in our table, and because it's an auto number here, we also have it listed as number here so that the data types correspond. You wouldn't have this listed as auto number here and then list this one as short text, for instance. We also probably would not want to name this office location. Better to name it office ID, then it very clearly communicates that it is connected directly to this primary key. Okay, so that's foreign keys. Let's talk about forms. A form is an access object that displays information from the data in your tables. A form is the best way to enter new data or edit data because you can control how the data is entered. So we have our form here, our employees form, and as we navigate through here and enter information here, it goes into our table, but by using the form we're able to restrict the way data is entered. So for instance, in our office we have a combo box drop down that only allows them to select one of the existing offices from our offices table. They can't enter in their own unique office here, which is good because that keeps our data clean and accurate. Same with our employee status. We have a drop-down option here for them to choose from, which restricts the data that they're able to enter to help our database to be more accurate. Okay, so that's forms. Now let's talk about fixed width. In a fixed width file, the fields are separated in columns with spaces between them. Used with text files, they're different from delimited files in that they use spaces instead of commas or other characters. So let's go ahead and look at an example here. If we take our employees table and we go to external data, and we're going to export this as a text file. We can browse to our location. We're going to leave this unchecked because we don't want it to include the formatting and layout. We click OK. And now in our form wizard we have two choices. Delimited, which is where we separate the columns by a comma or other characters. And then we have fixed width. And this is where the fields are aligned in columns with spaces between each field. So this is showing delimited. If we select here, this is showing a fixed width format. So we'll select next. And we can scroll through here to make sure that this is correct. Check out some of the other fields. If we needed to make adjustments, we can grab these arrows, these lines with the arrows, and we can move them to wherever they are. But these all look good, so we're going to just click next. Select our location, where we want it to export the file and save it, and click finish. Close that, and we can go take a peek at that. Go ahead and open up that text file. And I'll shrink it down so I can get to the scroll bar here. And as we scroll across, you can just see that it's divided by spaces into columns. And then this file could be imported into Excel or even into another Access database. Okay, so that's fixed width. And that's the end of our definitions that start with the letter F. We've looked at the definitions for a field, field properties, a foreign key, a form, and fixed width.